Welcome to the first episode of 10-Minute Tips and More. This is episode 1, create a basic application with a custom table in Studio IDE. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to create a basic application with a custom table. Specifications are using Studio IDE to create the application, construct a classic app design, generate a generic role, build a table from scratch, and add custom table fields. The audience for this application is going to be the citizen developers. And let's note that this app will be used for future episodes of 10-Minute Tips. Things like creating catalog items, workflows, as well as inserting data into the custom table. Okay, let's go ahead and get started at creating our service support request application. We're going to start off by opening up Studio, and from here we'll click Create Application. We'll give it a name for our application, and we'll leave it in a scoped environment, and we'll leave the rest of the defaults. We'll click Create, and we'll go on to the next screen. Here it's going to ask us if we want to include any roles or create a new one. We'll go ahead and create a new one, and we'll just create a generic user role, and we'll continue. Here it's asking us if we want to create a classic application or a mobile. In this case, we're going to select classic and click continue. And then we're going to be prompted to identify any database tables that we want to include in the application. In our case, we're going to create a custom table. So we're going to click Create New, and we're going to create the table from scratch. So we'll go ahead and add in our fields that we have. And the first is going to be request on behalf. And this is going to hold the information as to who the request is being entered for. So in this case, this is going to be a reference to the sysuser table. We'll add another field called service support type, and this is going to be a choice field, and we'll go ahead and say that this is going to be mandatory, and we'll add in the values for the support type. We're going to put in data architecture, consult. Second one is going to be one-time data load. Our next one will be form and logic development. And the last one is going to be data and system integration. We'll go ahead and add in our next field. And this is going to be a short description. It's going to be a string, and we'll set this to 180 characters. We'll make this mandatory as well, and we'll add in our next field, which will be long description. Again, string field, and we'll up this to 4,000 characters. Now we're not going to make this mandatory because the short description may take care of that information that they want to include. So we'll add our last field here. That's going to be priority, and this is going to be a choice field. Again, this will be mandatory, and we'll add in some values. Okay, now that we've got those in there, I believe we're done with adding our fields. We've added our 5 custom fields. Name for this table. And we'll select auto number, and we will leave the defaults and click continue. This is going to go ahead and generate the table for us, and it should come back and tell us the table was created and the number of fields that were created. Now we only created 5 fields, but there's several fields that come default for a table being built from scratch. So we'll go ahead and click continue. So now it's going to go through and confirm the tables that we want to use. We're done with tables, and we'll go ahead and click start, which will continue to generate the application. It's asking us to confirm some of the information here for the name and roles. We'll go ahead and click create. So now that we're done with the app, we can continue on. We won't have any additional features that we set here, so we'll click done, and you can see that our application has been created. Let's inspect some of the components that were created and see what else we can do from within Studio IDE. Now, a couple of these features like the custom table and the application navigation, we'll see a bit more in the next 2 episodes. In the application setup, we created a custom table called Service Support. Now you can manage this table directly through this interface. If you simply double click on the Service Support link, it will open up the table definition and show you the table columns. Now I mentioned earlier how some fields were created by default. You can see these created and created by, updated, updated by. These are default fields that are created when you generate a table. And we can also see the custom fields that we added in, like long description, priority, request on behalf, service support type, and short description. If you wanted to add a new field, you can simply click on the new button and it will open up a table column form where you can add a new field specifying its type and any customizations that you need. Additionally, you see that we've got a couple data policies that were created. Now these are the fields that we specified to be mandatory when we created the custom fields. Here we see the generic role that we created. And lastly, we have the navigation with the application menu and modules. We'll see these used in episode 3. Now let's take a look at what else we can do now that we've got our app created. If you click Create Application File, you can see that you have a host of components that can be created. You can see that we can add tables, we can add business rules and data policies, as well as client scripts and UI policies. We can also add additional menu modules, as we'll see in the next video. We can create a customized service portal within our application. We can add catalog items or record producers, or even order guides. We can add reporting features once our application starts to retain data. We can create a virtual agent topic using natural language understanding. We can also add flows or actions as well as workflows to our application, as we'll see in episode 3. Let's finish things off with a quick recap. This video was demonstrating how to create a basic application with a custom table. Using Studio IDE, we created the application, we constructed a classic app design, we generated a generic role, built a table from scratch, and added custom fields to that table. In the next episode, episode 2, we'll use the existing app that we just created from episode 1. We'll create a catalog item with variables and UI policies. We'll access the catalog item through the service portal, and I'll show you how to inspect, insert, and update the data from the classic UI navigation. And in closing, here's some information about me. My email address, my LinkedIn address, as well as some of my professional experience and some information about my YouTube tutorials, as well as my channel. Thanks for joining me.